Want to stay up to date with everything that's happening on the show? Or do you have a story that you'd like to submit for one of our Listener Stories episodes? You can get in touch with the show via the website at www.hauntedukpodcast.com, on Instagram at hauntedukpodcast, on X at hauntedukpod, or you can email us at contactus@hauntedukpodcast.com. We're also on Facebook and TikTok. And if you want to support the show, you can do it via either Patreon or Ko-fi. Both platforms have exactly the same content, but work in slightly different ways. One of the advantages of Patreon is its sleek user interface. But if you want to avoid those pesky additional charges that Apple, Google, and Patreon apply to your subscription, then why not give Ko-fi a try? Simply open a browser window and type ko-fi/HauntedUK Podcast, and you'll soon find us. Whichever platform you choose, we're sure you'll enjoy the bonus content. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the episode. I began to feel very uneasy and sensed that an extremely unpleasant presence had somehow gained entry to our bedroom. I was completely alone, yet I knew that someone or something was inside that room with me. As I lay there, completely terrified, I heard what sounded like someone walking past me. This is episode 62 of the Haunted UK podcast, and in this episode, we'll hear from a listener whose experiences with paranormal phenomena over a 30-year period are nothing short of incredible, chilling, and sometimes very frightening. As we've heard and been made fully aware of over the many episodes of this podcast, the paranormal doesn't distinguish by race, religion, culture, language background, or profession. It runs riot over borders, affects everyone from police officers to teachers, from airline pilots to cleaners, from courier drivers to surgeons, to name but a few. Many people who are lucky enough or unlucky, depending upon how you look at it, who experience a possible paranormal incident probably only have one encounter. And this is usually enough for anyone. How do you digest it? How will they interpret you as a human being if you speak up? Will you lose friends or family? Will it alter your perception of the world around you, your religious beliefs, your opinions on life after death? Some sway to even more disbelief, whilst others see an encounter as an awakening. But it's safe to say that nobody truly knows how they would react when confronted by something that should only really exist in a Hollywood movie. And it's these thoughts, these questions, that bring us to this episode which you will hear today. A series of incredible encounters which were all witnessed by the same person. These strange and sometimes frightening incidents include apparitions, doppelgangers, poltergeists, precognition, and even lucid dreaming. It begs the question which we've asked on so many occasions, and it's this: are some people more susceptible to experience paranormal encounters than others? Many go through their entire lives completely skeptical, never encountering anything even remotely strange or unusual, yet others, well, they seem to attract these phenomena like magnets. Are they somehow primed when they are born, given some sort of genetic trait which is passed down from their families? Something which is, as of yet, completely unknown and undiscovered. Is there really such thing as an extra sense? An aspect of human beings that can somehow tune into these phenomena? It seems that as children, many of us have imaginary friends, can see people in places that our parents cannot, yet there comes a time when our subconscious mind, or the area of the brain which is able to pick up and accept these experiences, begins to shut down. Many of us then continue to live our lives without too much incident, but for others, these senses have never truly switched off. They continue to function, maybe as those voices in the mind that tell you not to go to work on the train today, or to stay at home and call in sick, because you have a feeling, a strange type of nausea that is warning you that something will happen. And then it does. And it's really only then that you realize that maybe, just maybe, you're in tune with something completely extraordinary. The following series of stories sent in by Ian are just that, extraordinary, and we can't thank him enough for coming forward and sharing his experiences. So settle down, get comfortable, and we'll let Ian continue. Hi Steve, I just wanted to say your podcast goes from strength to strength with each series. I listened to Danny Robbins and Ghost Hunt's podcasts, and after hearing about yours, I went to listen straight away, and I wasn't disappointed. And I felt the urge to write in, as I thought you and the listeners would be interested in hearing some of the strange experiences I've had over a span of around 30 years, and counting. Altogether, these incidents make up for quite a long story, and they contain many different elements of the paranormal, from precognitive dreams all the way to terrifying poltergeist activity. I've broken these experiences down to individual cases, as I feel that this is the best way to separate the blocks of incidents as they happen through various periods of time. I hope some or all of my stories resonate with the listeners and give others the confidence to share their experiences. So with all that said, let's go. Case 1. The beginning. I wanted to start off by talking about my own experiences with the paranormal, which all started back in October 1994. At the time, I was 9 years old and lived with my parents and 2 brothers on the outskirts of Southampton in an area called Culmore. The family home was built in the 1970s, and my parents moved in May 1981. In 1994, I'd been in hospital, and it was my first night back at home after having my right ear operated on. I shared a bedroom with my twin brother Si, which overlooked the back of the house. I woke up at about 3 a.m. due to the pain and drumming sound in my ear, and my brother was sound asleep. Despite the sound in my ear, the room still felt quiet, somehow quieter and colder than usual. I got myself to sleep, laying on my back with my arms outside the covers, and as I was about to drop off, I felt something take my wrists, and I was pulled up and down. This happened around 4 times. With my heart racing, I opened my eyes, turned and looked at my brother. He was tucked up in his bed, still fast asleep. I checked the bedroom door, which was still closed, so I knew no one had come in. Even if they had, why would anyone do that? I don't know what happened that night, and to this day, it still haunts me. Moving forward to March 1995, and I woke up again at around 3 a.m. Si was snoring in his bed, and after 10 minutes, I couldn't get to sleep. I couldn't get comfortable, and the snoring was keeping me awake. I rolled onto my left side, but again, I just couldn't seem to get comfortable. I didn't want to sleep on my right side as the snoring was really loud, and I didn't want to lay on my back due to the horrible experience I had in October. With reluctance, I rolled onto my back, and the only way to describe it was the ceiling of my room was replaced by the most beautiful starry sky I'd ever seen. I know it sounds completely surreal and out there, but it was simply amazing. The sky was a rich, deep purple color, getting lighter, changing in color as it got further out, where it met a cloud which was encasing the sky in a circle. It was then that I noticed it was extremely quiet, and I couldn't hear my brother snoring. I was just in awe, and it felt peaceful. It was a definite step up from what happened in October. I don't know how long I was staring at this sky for, but for a while after, it began to grow darker. The clouds started to cover the sky, shrinking this strange but beautiful view to the size of a small circle. I blinked, and the ceiling had returned to normal. I was 100% awake, and I know what I saw. And it was beautiful. Case 2. What's above your head? What's at the end of your bed? In the summer of 1995, my brother and I were moved to the front bedroom of the house. I can only guess that this was because my parents wanted a bigger bedroom, so unfortunately, we were the casualties. Despite it being a smaller bedroom, I was kind of happy to move because of those experiences in the back bedroom, and I really wasn't expecting any kind of repeat performance. At least I hoped for that. Peace at last. Or at least it was to start with. Around a month later, Sai and I were in our beds, and some short time after we'd both settled down, we heard boxes being moved along the boards in the loft. We thought it was a bit strange at that time of night. Why would somebody be in the loft moving things around so late in the evening? In the morning, we asked our mum if Dad had been in the loft in the night, and told her what we'd heard. She looked at us and said that he hadn't been up there, and the loft didn't have boards. It was just beams and insulation. So, what was making those noises? Who or what had been up there? In October that year, I had another operation, but this time on my left ear. On my first night back home, I had just got into bed and all I could hear was the drumming noise in my ear. This, coupled with the pain, was doing a damn good job of keeping me awake. I was lying on my right side, and I couldn't hear my surroundings at all, such as the clock ticking. All I could hear was that constant drumming noise beating away inside my ear, inside my brain. I don't know if, because of this, my other senses became heightened, but I began to develop an odd feeling, a strange sensation, as if the covers at the bottom of the bed were being moved. Then, terrifyingly, it felt as if hands were coming up from under the covers, trying to touch my feet. I raised my head and asked Sai where he was in the room, thinking that he was trying to prank me. He said he was in bed, but I asked him to wave a hand at me to give me some sort of proof. Sai began to wave at me, and I could see this against the curtains. He was definitely in bed, but alarmingly, I could still feel the covers slowly moving. Praying that this was just a one-off experience, I curled my legs up to move away from whatever was trying to grab hold of me. This strange and frightening incident continued to repeat itself on and off for many years, always at the point when I just got into bed for the night. Even to this day, I always sleep with my arms under the covers, on my side, with my legs curled in. And I make sure that I have my covers tucked under the mattress. Case 3. A close shave. In 1996, just for context, we'd moved the bedroom around and my bed was now by the window. There was a gap between the beds and we had a bedside cabinet with our radio, clock and lamps on. On the other side of the room, we had a TV that was central to us, so we could both view it equally. I remember us being fans of Wallace and Gromit, and we even had a poster above the TV. It was the image of them when Wallace was riding the motorcycle and Gromit was in the sidecar, and they were going to wash windows. They even had a ladder attached to the sidecar. During the early hours at around 2 to 3 a.m., I woke up to the rustling sound of the poster and saw my brother try to put it back up. This was so odd because this poster had been up with no problems for months. It easily had enough blue tack on it to keep the poster to the wall, and there was no wind that night. In hindsight, and thinking about it now, the room felt eerie, very still. The poster rustled again, but louder this time, and I can remember thinking, he's really struggling here to put that back up. And I could see the underside of the poster going up and down, up and down. Then something very disturbing happened. Something that I still struggle to come to terms with, even to this day. It must be a twin thing, but in a split second, we both asked each other the same question.
What are you doing?
And then both of us replying,
I'm in bed.
Instinctively, we both counted.
3, 2, 1.
And then turned our lamps on at the same time. We both then watched that poster fall back down, coming to rest over the TV. What had just happened? Well, what had happened was this. We had both woken up at the same time. We both thought that each other was trying to put the poster back up, and both of us actually saw each other put it back up, followed by us both watching it fall from the wall. We still don't know who we saw, who was struggling with that poster. And that is such a frightening thought, that someone or something was in our room with us. With us both being freaked out by the experience, we took the poster down permanently and never put it back up again. Case 4. The Past, the Present, and the Future, Part 1. Throughout the rest of the late 1990s, my brother and I experienced a strange presence in our home many times. Regularly, we would have a feeling of dread wash over us, and it wasn't long before other strange occurrences began to take place. The extremely eerie sensation of someone or something brushing past us. The unmistakable feeling of the weight of a person sitting down on our beds. And every single time incidents such as these would occur, our room would always become cold, still, eerily quiet, like the time with the poster. I remember once my mum being unwell and in bed. My dad was at work and my 2 brothers and I were downstairs watching TV. I distinctly recall becoming very angry at my brothers and deciding to go to bed. I walked into our room and closed the door, then got into bed and turned the lamp off. Almost immediately, I noticed that the room was completely void of all sound, as if somebody had turned the volume of reality all the way down. I also quickly became aware that the room seemed much darker than it normally would have been. So dark, in fact, that I couldn't even see the landing light through the crack of the door. I began to feel very uneasy and sensed that an extremely unpleasant presence had somehow gained entry to our bedroom. I was completely alone, yet I knew that someone or something was inside that room with me. As I lay there, completely terrified, I heard what sounded like someone walking past me, and then felt a puff of cool air hit my face. I knew for a fact that the window was shut, so it definitely couldn't have been the wind or a draft. I then both felt and heard the brushing sound of something against my bed covers. It was coming from the bottom of my bed. It was then that I felt the covers moving at my feet. I summoned up the courage and switched the lamp on. The feelings of unease and terror quickly went away. I then got out of bed, got dressed, and went back downstairs. After my mum was feeling better a couple of days later, I mentioned for the first time about the experiences I was having. I recounted the time I was being pulled up and down in my bed back in my old bedroom. The different incidents which my brother and I were now experiencing in our current bedroom. It was then, and only then, that she told me that she was also having her own strange experiences. She mentioned that on one particular evening while she was in bed, she heard the bedroom door open and felt someone get into bed next to her. The creepy thing about this incident was this: my dad was at work at the time, so she was alone. She said she wanted to scream but was so overwhelmed and frozen with terror that she simply couldn't. Whatever this thing was that was lying next to her in bed, it radiated an ominous presence, and she couldn't bear it. But she also couldn't move. It felt real, solid, something that wasn't going away. The strange thing is that my mum and dad were now in the bedroom where my brother and I used to be, and my mum was sleeping in the exact same spot that I used to when I was in that room. And if that wasn't enough, my dad also mentioned that he'd woken up to find the figure of a female standing at the side of the bed, without a face.
Oh my God!
Deeply horrifying if you ask me, but these experiences weren't limited to our bedrooms. They began to spread to other areas of the house. In the bathroom, my mum has been poked in the back numerous times. Then there's the kitchen. We've felt cold air brush past us when all windows and doors are closed. And there's also a definite sense of a presence in there. Whether it's the same one as upstairs, I'm not sure, but it'll position itself behind us, making the hair on the backs of our necks stand up. In the lounge, we've witnessed the curtain waving by itself. Again, there have been no windows open, and everybody else in the room at that time has been sat down, so they couldn't have caused it to move. Case 4. The Past, Present, and the Future, Part 2. Fast forward now to 2001, and all had been quiet and normal for a while, but it didn't stay that way for long. It was around March time, and I'd had 2 dreams, both of which were quite disturbing. They depicted airplanes crashing into buildings, and at the time I didn't know what the buildings were. But what stuck in my mind the most was one particular part of the building which was sticking out of the rubble. I didn't see this image again until the aftermath of 9/11, almost 6 months after I'd had those dreams. There I was, staring at the harrowing image of the wrecked steel structure of the World Trade Center, a former icon of the New York skyline, jutting out of the devastation which surrounded them, laid bare on the front page of the newspaper. I shuddered and wondered what was happening to me. In November, I woke up again from another vivid dream, one that I'll never forget. I spoke with my mum just after my dream in the morning, where I had the dream that my nan wasn't well, and according to the dream, the outcome wasn't going to be good. I told her that that's my immediate family, Grandad, my uncle and his partner at the time, were all in the back lounge, but Nan wasn't there, and we were all upset. My mum replied, well, that's not going to happen, as Nan and Grandad haven't spoken to Dad since 1996. This was because of some harsh chosen words said by my dad toward my grandparents when my parents temporarily split up. 2 weeks after that dream, my family and I went into Southampton to do some late-night Christmas shopping. My mum received a phone call from her brother saying that Nan had been stuck on the stairs and couldn't move. The doctor believed she'd dislocated her hip and was being taken to hospital. Thankfully, she hadn't dislocated her hip but was diagnosed as being borderline diabetic. Strangely, I couldn't settle and was concerned that it was something more because of the dream I'd had. Christmas and New Year came and went, and the January blues were in full swing. What's more, my nan's health was slowly deteriorating, and we were all becoming very worried. My dad made amends with my nan and granddad, and we started visiting them more during this time. It was now Monday the 21st of January 2022, and I was walking home from college, and I saw my brother Mike on his bicycle, returning to work from his lunch at home. He looked pale and had been clearly upset. He told me that the doctors had been to see our nan and she had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and didn't have long left to live. My heart sank, and the only thing I said to him was, "She isn't going to make it to the weekend." I have no idea what made me say that, but I just knew she wasn't going to make it to Saturday. I skipped college on Thursday because, to be honest, I wasn't in the right frame of mind to learn anything. I just wanted to spend what time I had with my nan. Around lunchtime, I was sitting in the chair and felt a bit giddy, so my great aunt got me a Kit Kat and a sugary tea. I looked over at my nan, who was lying in this hospital bed in her lounge, and noticed a shadow cast over her head. There wasn't anything there to cast this shadow, so I was slightly confused. I also saw an electric blue spark at the bottom of her bed. I later Googled these experiences to see if there was any meaning to them, and both pointed to psychics who see these phenomena in cancer and the end-of-life patients. My nan sadly passed away on Friday morning at around 12:25 a.m. Even though I was there when she took her final breath, I never took the chance to say goodbye or to say that I loved her. I guess I was just numb and in shock from her passing. It was only when the undertakers took her away that I realized that we were all in the back room, exactly how it was in my dream. Was this another premonition of the future, or just a coincidence? As a side note, what was noticeable and weird was the change in weather. Grey and cold throughout the day, and the evening wet and windy. It was around 10 p.m. My dad and the two brothers went home, but I wanted to remain with my nan, mum, granddad, and uncle. The night nurse then noticed a change in my nan and knew she was close to death. At this point, we were listening to Greensleeves with panpipes, which my nan loved to listen to. The moment she passed, the music stopped mid-song. No one touched the CD player, and what's more, there were 6 of us there who all witnessed this. And that was when we noticed the stark change in weather. The wind and rain had suddenly stopped, and the sky went clear with 2 stars shining brightly over the house. My mum believes it was my great nan coming back to guide my nan to heaven. Case 5. Nan comes to visit. It was now March 2002, and it was what would have been my nan's birthday. My nan loved classic chill-out music, and I decided to play her favourite song on repeat from the album on my CD Walkman. I was in bed at the time, and we had a dome-shaped battery-powered camping light in our room. I'd put this on so my brother didn't have to turn the main light on when he was going to bed. As I listened to this song on repeat, I can only describe the room temperature dropping, and even though my eyes were closed, I noticed the room getting darker. I opened my eyes and saw the light beginning to fade out as if something was drawing it away, little by little, until it eventually died out completely. It was then that I decided to turn both the music and the light off and go to sleep. The next morning, I apologized to Sai for turning the light off and mentioned that we needed new batteries because it had died on me while I was listening to my music. He looked at me puzzled and said, "It shouldn't have. I only put new batteries in it yesterday morning, and when I turned it on when I went to bed, it was absolutely fine." Maybe Nan was using the batteries from the light to come through, to listen to her favorite song. Summer was quickly approaching, and it was now May. It was at this time that I had another very vivid dream. And just like the one I had with my nan, this one also sticks with me. Randomly, I dreamt of being in a supermarket car park with my family, and my granddad was pushing my nan in her wheelchair, just slightly ahead of me. My dad then said that I needed to say goodbye to my nan, so I ran up to her and gave her a big hug and said goodbye. I told her that I loved her, and she held me tight and said the same thing back. In the dream, I was crying, and I instantly woke up with tears running down my face. It felt so real, and I believed that it was both my Nan's and my chance to finally say goodbye. The strange incidents with my Nan continued, and on one June evening, I was in the living room watching TV when I decided to go to bed. I said goodnight to my mum and was stopped dead in my tracks. I saw a face at the front door window. Not the face of a stranger or a friend, but the face of my Nan. I didn't have the heart to tell my mum what I'd just seen. I didn't want to upset her. I only told her that I thought I'd seen a face through the glass. My mum came out to take a look, but by that time, the face had gone. The next day at college, I put some newspaper down on a table in preparation to do some artwork. I noticed that one of the pages had the daily horoscopes printed on it, and out of curiosity more than anything, I found my star sign, which was Sagittarius, and proceeded to read it. My mouth dropped as I read the line, "A familiar face will be seen at the door." I checked the date of the newspaper, and it was the day before. Case 6. Who called for help? August 2003, and it was the bank holiday weekend. For once, the bank holiday was a bright and sunny day, which was a stark change to the usual rain-soaked washouts. My parents went to do some shopping and then picked Si up from work. I was in the living room, flicking through the Sky menu to see what was worth watching. I heard the back door open, and turning around to quickly look, I saw a shadow cast under the stairs. My mum finally back from shopping. I then heard,
"Ian, can you come and help?"
I replied, "Yep, okay." And while talking to myself, I said, "There's nothing on the TV anyway." I turned the TV off and put the remote control on the side. I walked to the kitchen and found that there was nobody there. A little confused, I went to the back door in the hallway and found that it was locked. I went back into the kitchen and looked through the window to see if I could see the car outside the gate. Nothing was there. I messaged my mum and asked where they were, and she said they were still waiting for Si to finish work. To this day, I am still unsure who it was calling for help, and to be honest, I don't think I'll ever know. Case 7. Holiday of a Death Time. September 2003, and I had the opportunity to go to Ibiza with my friends. What should have been the holiday of a lifetime soon turned into something more like an awakening. In the daytime, the humidity was absolutely unbearable, and being Brits and knowing how badly equipped we sometimes are at coping with heat, we decided to chill out and take a nap before heading out later that day. My brother Si also went to Ibiza with some of his friends, so decided to crash in my room and stay with me and my friends. We were all napping, with Si on the one side of my bed and me on the other. I began dreaming again, and this time I was playing basketball with my parents and my brothers. We were playing at the old gym in my secondary school, and after finishing, my dad said, "That's enough now. Let's go." They left the gym one by one, and I was last to leave. But as soon as I stepped through the doors, everything went black. I began to feel light, as if I was floating, and in a strange and comforting way, I felt completely free. As stupid as it sounds, I saw a light in the distance, so I decided to head towards it, not having any clue whatsoever where it would lead to. Slowly but surely, a scene began to drift into view, a scene which surrounded me entirely. I was in a room, and my Nan was there, sitting in a chair looking out of the window, something she used to do when she was alive. I went up to my Nan and gave her a massive hug. I said to her, "Nan, I miss you so much. Can I stay here with you?" And she replied, "It's not your time." I looked at her and said, "But I'm happy, I feel at peace, and I'm completely free of pain and sadness." She replied again saying, "It's not your time. It's not your time. It's not your time," getting quite stern by the third utterance. The room around me began to get dark once again, and slowly the scene faded away. I was back in that black void again, floating around, not knowing where I was or where I was going. Suddenly I was pulled away, really quickly, and woke up, lunging upwards from my bed, gasping for air. I believed that I was close to death that day, and I also believed that it was my nan who saved my life. I feel having a near-death experience has profoundly changed me. In so many ways, it indicated to me that I had been given a second chance, and that whatever I was put on this earth to do clearly wasn't finished. After moving out of the family home and moving around the area, I really only had one experience. Everything seemed quiet, settled, back to normal. But fast forward to October 2015 and I was living back at home. This time, I lived with my parents and granddad. He sadly passed away in the kitchen and was found by my mum and niece Alex, who was only 3 years old at the time. Each night after his passing, I heard him in his bedroom where he spent most of his time. I heard his TV being switched on, his bedroom light and plug switch being used. All the things that would have suggested to anyone who didn't know that my granddad was still alive and well. I got out of bed to place my ear on the door to try and listen to what my parents were watching, and then compare it to what was playing on the other side of the wall. As you can probably already guess, it was completely different. I was adamant I was right, so I got up off the floor and opened my door, and was confronted by something that just shouldn't have been happening. There, through the gap under the door, I could clearly make out the faint glow of the TV from my granddad's room. Plucking up the courage, I opened his door, and as soon as I did this, I was met with a dark room, and everything was switched off, including the plug sockets, which I had turned off the day he passed. There was no mistaking what I was hearing coming from this room, which was completely different to the TV sounds downstairs. All of this only reinforced to me that my granddad had visited his old room. August 2016 soon came around, and that meant my parents were away on holiday. I'd had a pretty busy day with work and was relaxing at home. It was also the first time I'd been alone in the house since my granddad had passed. We both moved into my parents' house back in 2012, and while they were away on holiday each year, I was accustomed to running errands and cooking for him. His eyesight wasn't brilliant, and he couldn't really see the controls on the microwave or cooker. A couple of times, I'd find that the hob was left on low when he thought he'd switched it off, or the microwave would beep due to not being cancelled properly. One of his favourites was a meal-for-one roast dinner, which he always preferred in the microwave. On this particular evening, I cooked myself a meal for one, but in the oven. After finishing clearing up, I looked around the kitchen just to make sure I hadn't missed anything. My attention was quickly drawn to the microwave, simply because of the time which was showing on the front display. It read 1942. I turned the kitchen light off, double-checked that the doors were all locked, and went to head upstairs. No more than a couple of seconds later, I heard a beep from the microwave back downstairs. Thinking my mind was playing tricks on me, I continued to go upstairs, but just as I stepped foot on the landing, I heard the microwave beep again. Once again, I shrugged it off and headed to my bedroom. I began playing a game on my phone and had the TV on low for some background noise, when once again, I heard the microwave, but this time it beeped 4 times, which indicated that it had finished cooking. Sitting there for a few seconds and realizing that I just couldn't shrug this off again, I went downstairs, turned the kitchen light on, and walked over to the microwave. Instead of showing the clock, the display read 0001. The only time this had ever happened in the past was when my granddad was trying to cook his meals in the microwave, and somehow he always managed to leave the display showing 0001. Case 9. Voices in my room. It's now 2024 and it's the 10th of January. Except the usual goings-on with the feelings of a presence around the house, things up to this point had been relatively quiet. But as before, this didn't last. I was watching The Big Bang Theory on Netflix. I could hear other voices than those on the show. I thought I'd accidentally had music or a podcast on my phone at first, but nothing. I paused Netflix, but the voices continued. I couldn't make out what these voices were saying, but there were more than two. I have Bluetooth on one of my light projectors, so maybe that had picked something up, but I really can't see how, as I don't know how to connect it, plus each time I put it on, I always turn Bluetooth off. I'm at a loss. I have no idea where these voices were coming from. I can remember getting out of bed and looking out of the window, but there was nobody there. I also went over to the lights, but nothing was coming from them either. What I am certain of is this, that these voices were definitely coming from within my bedroom, and they seemed to stop as soon as I got close to where I felt they were. Case 10. Demonic Growl. It's January the 24th. Over the years I've suffered with sleep paralysis, so I know all too well what it is and what to expect when I have an episode of it. This particular night, I know in my heart that this wasn't sleep paralysis or sleep deprivation. I was 100% awake and mobile and completely aware of my surroundings. It was a windy night, but relatively mild as far as the temperature was concerned. Quite a rare occurrence years ago, but more regular these days. Due to this, I found myself waking up feeling hot, bothered, and uncomfortable. I had a drink of water and rolled onto my left side. Now I feel that I should point something out for context, because it's important as far as what happened next is concerned. Years ago, when I had the ear operations mentioned earlier in the episode, they caused damage to my right ear. I suffered a loss of hearing around 20%, but that's not all. My ear canal is slowly collapsing, which is making it even harder now to hear anything. I also still suffer from the constant drumming noise, again, as detailed earlier in this episode. Now, with me lying on my left side, I couldn't hear the wind at all and finally began to get comfortable. Then I heard a sound which made my skin crawl. A sound which I can only describe as a growl, but a growl that I've never heard before. It was so loud that it sounded as if it was directly behind me. Yes, I'll admit the window was open and the wind was blowing a gale, but as mentioned, the hearing in my right ear is very poor. Because of this, from my viewpoint, it was pretty quiet, but that growl, that sound, was very distinctive and seemed very, very close to me. I actually found a sound clip of a demonic type of growl, so that on top of describing it to my family and friends, they could actually roughly hear what I had heard. Here is the clip. It totally freaked me out, and I don't think I'll ever get over this. Just hearing that sound clip sends shivers down my spine and makes my hair stand up on the back of my neck. And this is where my story comes to an end. For now. There are a couple of other incidents which have occurred, but nothing along the lines of what I've described. These are the main stories that I wanted to share, and I sincerely hope that they are enjoyed by the listeners and you. Keep up the amazing work, and I look forward to hearing more stories when each episode is released. Kind regards, Ian Harris. And that is where this episode draws to a close. We have to give huge thanks and appreciation to Ian for being kind enough to send in these stories, but for also putting so much trust in the show that he felt comfortable enough to begin to write these experiences down. For many who have already done this, they often comment that afterwards, it gives them a sense of peace, closure, and the very process of sharing their stories feels therapeutic, almost cathartic. So what do you think of Ian's experiences? Do you have similar stories, and are you willing to share them? One thing that we always try to point out is that the show's community, which has been built up since our first episode in 2021, is truly amazing. All of you listeners out there are the real stars of this show, and it would be nothing without all of you. You welcome these stories, digest them, comment on them, but most importantly, you never judge. You encourage, and we at the Haunted UK podcast can't thank you all enough for that. So that just leaves me to finish off this episode by saying this. If you had an imaginary friend when you were a child, or if you vaguely remember being tormented by shadowy phantom figures at night, or perhaps being able to talk to a grandparent who had long since passed, then please take note of those memories, because who knows, remembering might just be the beginning, the awakening, of a sense that's always been there, the hidden sensitive part of your mind, the part you've locked away. And if that happens, and you feel the urge to write down your experiences, well, the next person to be the subject of an episode of this podcast, to tell such stories of whispering, grinning shadows, kindly ghostly relatives, a friend in Victorian clothes, and deathly parlour to match, yes, that person could be you.